Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayam Vishnu Paramahansa Parvakacharya Srita Satashi Shiman Divine Living Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnu Paramahansa Parvakacharya Srita Satashi Shiman His Divine Loving Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koi Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Brahm Shikahor Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakunda Radha Kunda Girvi Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Dham Ki Puri Dham Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinda ki, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Narayanam namaskritya naram Naivam Shaivan Narottama Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Tirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vedavyas, the author. Naishya Preshu Adbhadreshu Nicham Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisati. By regular attendance in the class of the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome in the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental song, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Aganya Timrandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Chaksun Melitanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadanti Swapadantikam Ye Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopesa Gopeka Kanta Radhakanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vindavanishre Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpa Taruvyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patijanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So Archita Prabhu was so merciful to give me this verse today and let me speak. Hopefully after I speak today, he'll let me speak again sometime. Vidhalalika Vishrambam Agneshu Takya Sarida Navam Abhisantya Om Shalya Svayavrittaha Vidhalalika Vishrambam Agneshu Takya Sarida Navam Abhisantya Om Shalya Sarya Vittaha. Vidhaya Nikas Vishrambam Vaishnav. Vaishnav. Vaishnavis. Vidhaya. Navam navam abhikshantya Om Sharya Sarya Vichaya Vidhaya by establishing Alika false Vishramamham faithfulness Agneshu unto the foolish men Takta Sobdra who have given up the company of well-wishers. Navam, new. Navam, new. Abhishantya, desiring. Pumshalyaha, women very easily allured by other men. Sarira, independently. Pritaya, professional. Translation in Srila Prabhupada's purport. Women are very easily seduced by men. Therefore, polluted women give up the friendship of a man who is their well-wisher and establish false friendship among fools. Indeed, they seek newer and newer friends, one after another. Because women are easily seduced, the Manu Samhita enjoins that they should not be given freedom. A woman must always be protected either by her father, by her husband, or by her elderly son. If women are given freedom to mingle with men like equals, which they now claim to be, they cannot keep their propriety. The nature of a woman, as personally described by Urvasi, is to establish false friendship with someone and then seek new male companions, one after the other, even if this means giving up the company of a sincere well-wisher. So, we take instructions from the Srimad Bhagavatam to guide us. They help us create sanity and order in our society. However, there's a principle of Vaishnavism that is even greater than the instructions of the Manu Samhita. And we can take the example of our dearmost Srimati Rukmini Devi. She had a wonderful father. He was a great Vaishnava, Bhishmaka. She had 5 brothers. Her father was such a great devotee that Narada Muni would come to their court and speak about Krishna. And from there, Rukmini heard about Krishna. And from there, she understood his wonderful attributes and qualities. And she desired to marry him. Everyone felt that Rukmini, because she was the reservoir of all transcendental qualities, was certainly qualified to choose her own husband. And her father actually didn't mind, but because of the insistence of her brother. Krishna had heard about Rukmini and her transcendental qualities, her intelligence, her auspicious physical features, her liberal mindedness, her exquisite beauty and righteous behavior. He wanted to marry her too, but Rukmi, he was determined that she should be betrothed to Shishupal, Krishna's determined enemy. So Rukmini, being the daughter of a king, she understood diplomacy. She took matters into her own hands. And she wrote Krishna a letter. Please, you must save me. And now is the time. So we know how that went. Another great princess who had to take matters in her own hands was born from a fire sacrifice. She was beautiful and qualified and intelligent in so many ways. Princess Draupadi. If a king even looked at her, he wanted to marry her. She was so beautiful. And she had 5 husbands, not just ordinary men. They were half demigod. They were the twins, Nakul and Sahadev. They were charming and beautiful. And Bhima, he could uproot a whole tree. He killed Rakshasas with the back of his hand. What to say of Arjuna, the greatest archer and military genius? And Yudhisthira, King Dharmaraj. These were her husbands. These were her protectors. But still, she was dragged like an animal into the court of the Kurus. She was embarrassed. She was humiliated. She was offended to such a deep degree. And her husband sat there, and there wasn't a thing they did for her. Actually, it was because Yudhisthira gambled her away that she was in that condition. But who did she call for? Who came immediately? It was Krishna. This is who we have to turn to take shelter, because he's really our only shelter for everyone, whatever our condition or position in life is. I'll tell you a true story. But first, let me make this point, that even if you were to find the perfect wife or the perfect husband, and life seems so perfect, they could still die. And this happens, right? Krishna left Vrindavan, and the gopis cried. They lamented. You can lament for your dead husband and cry, and all you'll get is a headache. But the gopis, they lamented for Krishna, and they cried. They still continued to make garlands. And what happened? They experienced transcendental bliss. Because by thinking about Krishna is non-different than being with Krishna. So a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity of going to the Kumbh Mela. Kumbh Mela is an amazing event. It's the oldest spiritual gathering in the world. It's all figured astrologically. I wanted to go because Srila Prabhupada went. It has some interesting pastimes there. And he speaks about it a little bit in his books. And the whole camp is set up by Radhanath Swami's men. It's a beautiful arrangement. They distribute thousands of plates of prashadam a day. And not just ordinary prashadam, it's really, really well prepared. They use ghee, they use curd. It's opulent prashadam. They even brought a chapati machine, had chapatis. It was really nice prashadam. They set up tracks because they had these huge pots that they had to roll from one place to another. So it was like train tracks. And every day we go out on padayatra. It's so nice. They had Lagorni tie on this cart pulled by these beautiful bulls. And one Indian gentleman donated cases and cases of Bhagavad Gitas. So we got to go out and distribute these at a very good price. And there's like 40 million people there at Kumbh Mela. And they're all looking for spiritual life. So this is an incredible opportunity. It was really, really Krishna's mercy to be able to be there at that time. And it was also kind of fun because usually when I go to India, the Indians are trying to get Lakshmi out of me. But this time I was getting Lakshmi out of them. So it was a nice turn of events. And But when it was time to go, our arrangement was that we were going to take a taxi to the train station, train to the plane. I had to get back here. But the police had closed down the roads, and they weren't allowing any cars to come in to the area. So I went to Sarvabhauma, who was the temple president, and he made some arrangement for us. And a couple of the kirtaniers from the 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan, the young boys are very sweet. They helped us bring our bags, and we had a lot of bags after 2 months in India. And we walked 3 miles to try and to get beyond the barriers so that we could find a taxi. But we couldn't find a taxi. We couldn't even find a rickshaw. We only found one very old, skinny man with a flatbed, rusted rickshaw. That was it. We put all our bags on top of there, and Deva and I sat on the back, and we went on the other 15 miles to the train station. It was a comical sight. Sometimes when we pass the police barriers, they would laugh. But then we started going down dark roads and such. And I rationalized this by thinking, well, he's a driver, he knows where he's going. But actually he was just going to get some liquor is what ended up happening. But still, he wasn't driving so fast, so we weren't too concerned. But as we were going on, I could see this gang of boys coming up. And they all had clubs, big clubs. It looked like they had raided a construction site or something. They're 2x4s. And I held my Sheilas very close, my bead bag, and I thought, oh, Krishna, is this how I'm going to die now? I didn't know. So when they came up, I mustered as much cunning and charm as I possibly could, and I smiled at them, and I said, Hare Krishna, as if they'd just entered into the Sunday feast. And from there, I thought that if I'm going to die, let me die at least serving my Guru Maharaj. So we proceeded to chant Hare Krishna and teach them, Bolo Hare Krishna. And they actually started chanting, and we started a kirtan. We also realized that the driver almost ran away. We had to get him back on and get the cart going. And then Krishna sent some nice people who saved us, sent them away. But in this way, it's a strong realization that Krishna is our only protector. Would you want to be our protector there? I wouldn't want you to be. This is really our only savior, is to take shelter at Krishna's lotus feet. You know, it's a strange thing, this taking shelter, that even Bali Maharaj and Sri Prahlad, they took shelter at the feet of Lord Krishna. And one might think, and it says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, people may be surprised that devotees like Prahlad Maharaj and Bali Maharaj could take shelter of the side of the enemy, giving up the natural affinity for family, hearth, and home. In this connection, Bali Maharaj explains that the body, which is the center of all material activities, is also a foreign element. Even though we want to keep the body fit and helpful to our activities, the body cannot continue eternally. Although I am the soul which is eternal, after using the body for some time, I have to accept another body. According to the laws of nature, unless I render some service with my body for advancement in devotional service, one should not use the body for any other purpose. One must know that if he uses the body for any other purpose, he is simply wasting time. For as soon as the time is ripe, the soul will automatically leave the body. Therefore, if we simply place ourselves at the lotus feet of Krishna by taking to Krishna consciousness and keeping always in touch with him by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we need not take much trouble in arranging to return to the spiritual world by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. This is true. So this is the point, is taking shelter of the right personality. Jamuna, who we spoke about a little before, such an advanced soul, and she had to face so much adversity even within Krishna consciousness. There are many people who are very offensive to Jamuna. They were sannyasis. They are not wearing saffron now. And this is what happens if we're offensive to devotees. We'll lose our taste for devotional service. But the example, the lesson that Jamuna taught us is that she would take this adversity and she would think, how am I to learn from this? What am I to learn here? What are some of the things that we learn from adversity? What are some of the things that we learn from adversity? Tolerance, good one. Patience, yes. What else? It's a short list. Humility, yes, very important, right? This is something all the great acharyas teach us, is humility. Yes, that's one thing. And so she used these opportunities to learn these things. It's not so far-fetched by looking at our material condition to imagine what our material condition may have been in a previous life. It's not so far-fetched to think that we may have been sitting in a different geological location in the temple room in our previous lives. And it's not so far-fetched to think if we don't attain our spiritual destination this lifetime, we may be sitting in a different geological location in the temple room in our next life. So we need to get beyond bodily conceptions. And we need to remember that we have to offer extreme respect and kindness to the devotees. We have to have the right mentality to go back to Godhead. We're all in training. When I went to become a flight attendant, they send you to a boot camp for training. And that's what we're kind of in here, is like a boot camp. We're learning to deal with all the different situations that we'll have to deal with in the spiritual sky. We're going to deal with Krishna's dearmost devotees. We're going to be in association with the six Goswamis, with the Manjaris. We can't have an offensive mentality. We can't have an offensive attitude. We can't find fault. We have to have this mentality before we can leave this material world. One good way to learn this mentality is from the acharyas. And there's this one purport that Srila Prabhupada gave us. Another thing that Jamuna spoke about in her book that I felt was so sweet and that she got a lot out of was when Prabhupada every morning, when they lived in John Lennon's estate at 9 a.m. after breakfast, Srila Prabhupada would go to his room and sing bhajans. And these were so sweet, the devotees wanted to record these, and Prabhupada agreed to record some of these bhajans. And Jamuna noted that when Prabhupada sang these recordings, when they were recording them, he sang in one way. But when he was alone in his room, he sang in a different way. The bhajans are a very powerful way in which we can connect. That one is we learn the proper mentality to approach Krishna and to beg for mercy. And these prayers are in the proper form so that Krishna will listen to them. We also get the mercy of these great Vaishnavas. And we get the same blessings that Krishna gave these Vaishnavas. And in my personal experience with bhajans, which isn't very extensive, but I found that there was an enthusiasm that grew, and it deepened my desire. And we're going into the month of Kartik, and this is a great time that we can have an opportunity. Kartik, we have an opportunity because we get whatever service, whatever devotion we have, it's increased. The benefit is increased 1,000 times. So if we do a little extra, we make a little vow, a little vart, to do one little extra thing a day, or maybe more than that. And that could be reading a chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It could be chanting extra rounds. It could be giving up sweets, which I don't recommend. I did that one year. It was so hard. So don't make it too hard. But make it something that you can do, and you can do with devotion. And in this way, our devotion will increase. But there's this one bhajan that Srila Prabhupada did a purport to. And I won't butcher it completely by singing the whole thing, but the first verse. Bhajahare Mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare Dulabha Manava Janama Satsange Darohe Baba Sindhure. And in this prayer, Srila Prabhupada explains that the body is like a car. We get that example in the Bhagavad Gita. The body is like a car, and the mind is driving this car. So this prayer is to the mind. This body is a car made of material nature. The living entity, what is said, I am now seated on this car, prepared by nature, material nature, and the driver is the mind. And the driver is not in my control. The driver is taking me anywhere he likes. You see, I am not able to drive. I have engaged one driver, which is called the mind, and this body is the car, and the mind is carrying me like a driver anywhere it likes. So therefore, the proprietor, I'm requesting the driver. I am helpless. I'm requesting my dear mind, Bhajure Mana, my dear mind, kindly worship Lord Krishna, Sri Nanda Nandana. Nanda Nandana means the Lord Krishna, who appeared as a son of Vasudeva and was taken care of by Nanda Maharaj. I'm requesting that you worship Lord Krishna, who is Abhay Charana. Abhay Charan means he is the fearless shelter. If we take shelter of Krishna, then we become free from all anxieties. Just like a helpless child, when he is taken care of by his parents, he becomes carefree. His lotus feet are our fearless shelter. So perhaps maybe we can do some bhajans together for the month of Kartik. Thank you for your patience. Are there any questions or additions, corrections?
Thanks, Prabhu, for such a nice class. You were saying how we have to get off the bodily concept, and this is very nice, but could you explain maybe the importance of still like following certain regulations and like so much as like dharma, as far as like
following certain regulations?
Women. Yeah, like for single men, you know, the purport was explaining how like single men and women should not mingle, even though we're not the body. Even though we're not the body, we still have to follow certain regulations and rules, as far as, you know, the purport was saying. Srila Prabhupada was saying how single men and single women should not mingle, and, you know, married woman and a married man.
Yes, this is a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Because it does keep our society in a stable sense. Women need to protect themselves through their chastity. And that chastity is demonstrated in different ways. By the way they dress, by the way they behave in association with other people. It's not that we're fanatical and we don't talk to anybody, but we just don't freely joke and hang out with other men. And when it says here, the nature of a woman, as personally described by Urvasi, is to establish false friendships with someone and then seek new male companions one after the other. Who are these male companions, you know? As a man, they have responsibilities too. It's to respect the ladies. And as our society, Prabhupada said that we will attract people by the way we treat each other. And if we don't offer respect and humility and tolerance to each other, they're going to see that. They're going to see they're going to be viewing this. But if they see how nicely we treat each other, they will appreciate this Krishna consciousness, and that will attract people. So there's responsibilities on both sides, that we behave nicely. And I think at this temple, that, from what I've seen, is pretty well established.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I hear this statement, then woman is not so much, I mean, I read somewhere and here, woman is not, or on the past or even today is not so much, I don't know, maybe not so much, I should not say so much. I don't know, I just hear statement is not respect enough in our society. Can you say something about that? That woman is not respect enough, Mataji,
not respected in the
in
outside
our society.
world?
Yeah, in our society.
I need to say something about that?
Yeah, if you can say so.
It's very obvious. In all society, yes, women are so disrespected. They're so cheated in society. When this whole women's movement came up, and Prabhupada says that here, they think they're acting as equals. Well, this whole women's movement was such a scam. They got all these women into the workplace. And what happened is then the wages go down. And at first, the families experienced greater prosperity, economic development when women went to the workforce. But prices went up. So now it's almost impossible for a family to live comfortably and without both husband and wife working. But if the wife is working, who's watching the children? And we're seeing such an increase in mental illness and problems with children. To me, it's related to the fact that the women are not able to be home with the children. This makes sense. But in so many ways, women are taken advantage of. They're given so much attention in the wrong kind of way. And in this way, they continue to be exploited and exploit themselves. There's terrible things that go on in the world. And a lot of it is promoted by the Western mentality of freedom, of so-called freedom of women. But it's not freedom, really. They just become entangled by attracting men, and men become entangled by the attraction of women. A woman should understand that just by being a woman, it's the material energy is going to attract men. This happens. So a woman should be modest in her activities, and she shouldn't use or show or display extended charm, because this will distract men. And we don't want our association distracted. We want our association focused on Krishna. So out of respect for each other, we all act modestly and with reserve. Hopefully society will notice this. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.